welcome to Career Center. I'm Kimberly White, Executive Director of the Community Career Center, a resource center located in Naperville for people in career transition. If you are unemployed, underemployed, or seeking a career change, this show is for you. Career Center will bring human resource professionals and other experts together to provide job search tips to assist you as you search for your next success. On this month's edition of Career Center, and in honor of Veterans Day, we will focus on resources and job search as it relates to our military veterans. Later on Career Center, we will be discussing job searching and the military veteran, but first, it is my pleasure to introduce Steve Fixler. Steve is the superintendent for the Veterans Assistance Commission of DuPage County. Steve, thank you so much for joining me and welcome.
Thanks, Kim. It's very happy to be here, and thanks for having me on your show.
Well, thank you for coming. And you know, it's November, it's Veterans Day, and it's so good that we're able to talk about our veterans and job search and all the resources available to them. So before we delve into that, I want to know a little bit about your military service.
Well, I first enlisted in 1979 as a private, made it to sergeant, and then I got out, went to school, college, got my commission as an officer, went back in 1987, and then I retired in 2004 as a major, and I was a tanker or an armor officer my entire time in the military. So I did 25 total years of service in the military. 25
years, and how many, did you spend a lot of time overseas, or were you?
I did 2 tours in Germany, once in the Middle East, a tour in Korea, and then stateside.
Okay, all right, and great. So now, Steve, you're the superintendent for DuPage Veteran Assistance Commission of DuPage County. Tell me a little bit about that and what do you do in that role?
The key thing we do is we provide temporary emergency assistance to veterans and their families. And so if a veteran loses his job or has some type of financial incident, we might pay a month's rent. We could pay utility bills, maybe car payments, maybe car repairs. We try to help him out after he's had a financial situation, a financial incident like that. Now, since we're in DuPage County, the veteran has to be a DuPage County resident.
Okay.
He has to have an honorable discharge or a general under honorable. We'll look at them, he or she. The veteran he has to be under 250% of the poverty level.
Okay.
And he has to also, like I said, have to have the financial incident and must have been on 6 months of active duty.
6 months, okay.
Okay, 6 months of active duty.
How do they find you? How do they know about, how do you find the veteran?
There's multiple ways. Sometimes they just search the website and our website comes up and everything like that. Or through other social agencies, whether it's DuPage County Community Services refers to us, Naperville Cares, anybody that goes through your office, you know, you have our flyers in your office and everything like that. They go through the unemployment office, working at DuPage. We're part of this whole circle of social agencies that refer everybody to each other and everything like that to help out. So that's one of the main ways.
Okay. And so when you say that you provide assistance in terms of helping a vet with their rent or car payment or things like that, how do you determine how you're going to help the vet?
A lot of it, determination is working with the vet. Okay. So if the vet comes up to me and says, I just got cut 20 hours at work, and I'm going to need a little of assistance here, then we sit down and say, okay, how much is they fill out an application form, and we have what we call the income and expense statement, and we sit down with them and say, okay, your rent is this much, your car payment is this much, your utilities is this much, and you're only getting this much a month. What do you think is the best way for us to help you? He may come back and say, I just need my rent paid. That's the key thing. Or he might say, I'm okay with my rent right now, but these utility bills and this car payment is what I really need help with. So we work together with the veteran to figure out exactly what he needs in his situation and everything like that.
Now, is this a one-time?
It's a one-time-a-year thing. It's
a one-time a year.
One time a year. We kind of pay about a month's worth of bills, all right? And so we're not month after month. We're not monthly or anything like that. So it's one time a year with us. And we also have gas coupons and Target gift cards to help the veteran out. And that's 4 times a year, actually.
Okay. And then what are some of the other things that you do? Do you help with filing a VA claim?
We will assist in helping them file a VA claim. And we will actually go to the house and help them file the claim if he can't get to us or something like that. And when we work with homeless veterans, if they're in the shelters, we actually go to the shelters and help them file the VA claim too. So one thing we do is we do assist in veterans filing VA claims, or we'll send them to an agency sometimes at Hines Hospital to help them file it, whatever's easier for the veteran. The other thing we have is we have a transportation program to help the veteran get to Hines Hospital.
Okay.
We have a contract with PACE, and a taxi cab actually goes to the veteran's house, picks them up, takes them to Hines, and then takes them back home again. The veteran pays $10 copay, but we pay the rest of it. And sometimes that's $60, $70 one way or something like that.
And is this multiple times? So if they have a doctor's appointment or?
They can go round trip on us, 2 round trips a week, and the 2 round trips a week,
no matter how
long they have to do it or anything like that. And we go to Hines VA Hospital in Maywood, or if they have an appointment at the, what they call the CBOC at North Aurora, outpatient clinic there, or Elgin. We'll also send them to one of those places too.
So if a veteran finds out about this service, kind of what's the process they need to provide to you? Do they need to provide like their DD-214?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's say they call us up, or even let's say they walk in, and or they call us up in advance, and they say, okay, here's my situation. We check them out and say, where do you live? You know, get an address from them and everything. Make sure to DuPage County. And then we ask them about how long were you in the military? Do you have a copy of your discharge papers? So let's say they have everything. Then when they show up here to our office, they have their DD-214 or their military discharge papers, because World War II guys don't have a DD-214. They have, they'll fill out the application. Then they might have a copy of their lease with them if we're going to pay rent, copy of utility bills, copy of car payments, or we also do car repairs. And so if they need a car repair, then we'll send them to one of the repair shops that we work with. So we go through the application, we gather those documents, and let's say we approve them for a month's rent, then they just sign the form, and then we process it through the county and mail the check directly to the landlord. All checks and monies go directly to the vendor. We don't give the veteran any cash or anything like that.
Okay, and you work with Mike Barber's folks too here, right?
We work with a lot of townships. Mike Barber over at Naperville Township, absolutely. Mike's actually one of our board members too, and everything like that.
Okay. So I read a statistic that there's 40,000 plus veterans in DuPage County?
That's pretty good. According to the VA, federal VA, we've got 40,600 veterans in DuPage County.
Okay, wow.
And that's the latest statistics with that and everything like that.
And I know you guys have a new program that you're starting.
Well, we started a program, our office, along with DuPage PADS, Hines Homeless Section, the Midwest Shelter for Homeless Veterans, and Catholic Charities. We put a little committee together to help end veterans' homelessness. And out of the 40,000 veterans, there's not even close to that many homeless or anything like that. But we put together this committee. We've only had 2 meetings, so we're really just getting started and everything like that. It's very new. We've had one in September and one in October, and that's all we've done so far.
And the reason why you put this together is in having conversations with, say, DuPage PADS, have they been seeing a number of veterans come to them, or?
Partially why we're doing this is to support the VA's initiative to end veterans' homelessness. That's one. And PADS has come to us and said, you know, we've got some veterans here too that we're trying to house. Midwest Shelter has been trying to house veterans, Catholic Charities, and the Hines Homeless Program. So we just got together and said, hey, let's get together, put together what we're going to call kind of a one list, get a list of all the veterans that need this assistance, work together with us to get them off the streets, to get them housing, and then also to include other social agencies to assist us if we need it. So our next meeting is going to be, you know, this month and everything like that. It'll only be our 3rd meeting and everything like that. So we've been putting that together, and now we have been working together in the past. But now we're face to face, and now we're saying, I've got Private John Smith here. Here's a situation, so we can work some details if we have to too. And
so where do you house them? Are you housing them in the shelters where, like DuPage PADS shelters, or do you?
Not to be funny, but yes. They're housed in DuPage PADS has apartments that veterans use. Midwest Shelter has apartments that they're being housed there too. We also use what's called VA HUD-VASH. And that's the HUD-VASH program. A veteran can go to an apartment complex that's willing to accept the HUD-VASH and just live in that apartment and everything like that. So there's multiple places to help house the veterans.
So you make sure that the veteran is aware of these other different places where they can be.
Sure. We give them a lot of referrals. We'll call up the other referrals and agencies and say, you could live here, you could live here. You can also get some assistance here and there, for sure.
There's also some other recent benefits and resources that are out there for veterans. I know there's the new property tax bill.
Yeah.
Do you know a little bit about that?
The governor signed the bill back in, I forgot, I think July or August.
Senate Bill 107?
I don't remember the Senate bill.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's the Illinois Disabled Veterans Property Tax is basically what it is. So if a veteran has a VA rating, a VA service-connected disability rating of 30 to 40%, they can take $2,500 off the assessed value of the property tax. Okay. That's 30 to 40%. If he has an assessed rating of 50 to 60%, he can take $5,000 off the assessed value. And if he has a rating of 70% or higher, then he's property tax exempt. Okay, that's the basics of it. Now, the VA rating system is only in 10s, 20s, and 30s. There's no 25 or 35. So they go by the 10s and everything like that. Okay. And they can file it at their tax assessor's office. I guess they can go to the township or just go to DuPage County Building at the supervisor of assessments, and they have the forms and everything right there at the counter.
You just do it right there.
And then
so
file it.
The offices all know about it. They
all know about it, and I've talked to some of the offices already. He needs to bring his DD-214. He needs to bring his rating letter, and then he can start going through the process and everything like that.
And how do you ensure or make sure the veterans know about this? Because that's one,
there's a couple things. One thing is I've put together a list of people on an email. So I do an email blast.
Okay.
And I just call it my DuPage County Veterans. And I do an email blast to many different people, many different organizations. So I blast out information a couple times a week. I'm also the service officer for the American Legion Executive Committee, and so I put that out as part of the service officer. Right. And I go on shows like you to put out the information too.
As we wrap up, I want to thank Steve for sharing this important information on veterans benefits and the newly formed committee focusing on ending homelessness. Up next, Jim Fergle to talk about veterans and job search. We'll be right back after this public service announcement.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Good things happen at the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. Experience more than 25,000 acres where native plants and animals make their home. Discover the scenic beauty of over 60 forest preserves containing forests, prairies, and wetlands. Explore the wonder of changing seasons along 145 miles of trails. Get outside and discover the good things that happen when you visit DuPage Forest Preserves, the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County, where good things happen.
Today, more than ever before, women are on the front lines of America's defense. These brave women struggle and sacrifice to help keep our country secure. They deserve to be recognized for their service as guardians of freedom. Please support the American Legion's efforts to serve the growing number of women veterans. Go to legion.org/honor-veterans to find out how you can help.
Welcome back to Career Center. I'm Kimberly White, and joining me at the table is Jim Fergle. Jim is the Manager of Employment Services for the DuPage Workforce Development Division. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Kim. I really appreciate you inviting me today to talk about the center and how veterans can help be looking for positions.
Well, again, thank you for joining me, Jim. So again, it's Veterans Day. It's November. It's Veterans Day month. Tell me a little bit about your military career.
I was the last year of the draft, so I went in as an officer through ROTC. As an armor officer, I did 2 tours in Germany and had a basic training company and advisor to the Guard and Reserves. And then I was caught up in the downsizing of the military in '87.
Okay.
And so I went through several transitions.
Did you retire then, or you
No, I didn't
downsize?
retire.
Okay, the downsize. Okay. So tell me, what is it that you do at DuPage, working at DuPage?
Working at DuPage is a job training one-stop center. We are funded, working at DuPage specifically is funded through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act through Congress. And so we're a job training program. And so we have different services that are open to the public, such as the Job Club, which meets twice a month on the second and last Friday of the month. We have a career resource room and basic career fundamentals. People do have to qualify for our program because it is grant funded. We do offer a job search boot camp, walk them through the process, and then we also have grants or scholarships up to $10,000 to help people retrain or get certifications. Also in the center is the Illinois Department of Employment Security. We have their veterans representative as well as the disabled veterans representative. National ABLE works with adults over 55. College DuPage is another partner, National ABLE, and Parents Alliance Employment Project. So.
It's a great resource, and I know that we partner with you all, so it's great to have that partnership. And then you specifically, I know, do workshops, veterans workshops, and some other things there. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Sure. One of the things I found in my transition, and I went through probably 7 years of transition, 4 or 5 career changes, and 7 layoffs, was that I was having a hard time finding services and just getting leads, or even how to conduct a job search, how to transfer my military skills. So one thing I've done at the center is have a quarterly veteran services and job search workshop so that we can have all the services in one location so the veteran's not spending money traveling all over the county. Plus, how do you look, what skills do you have that the employer is looking for, and then how to take it out of the military jargon and acronyms and put it in civilian terms.
How do they do that?
Well,
so you were an armor officer.
Right.
And you can't say, I drove a tank. I mean, you can, but how do you take those skills that you did as an armor officer and put those on a resume?
Well, one of the things is, unless I'm going to be on a SWAT team, that's not going to happen. And one of the things I've learned is what in my military experience has helped me today. One of the things was planning a job search, but still I didn't know how to conduct a job search. And so when I look at the skills that I've learned running a basic training company, tank platoon, or even advising the Guard Reserves, presentation skills, to be able to have presence in front of a group, being able to talk to a group of 5 people to over 500 people, to talk to C-level executives, which were War College. All that's in there, plus being able to look at people, schedule events, multi-site coordination, and then reaching out to people and talking across organizational lines and things like that. All that's come into play. So it's pulling that out of the veteran. So I do have an example.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
At the recent veteran stand down that we had at DuPage County Fairgrounds 2 months ago, a young veteran came in who was a Marine, but I found that out the hard way. I just said, well, what are you looking for? And he says, well, I know how to shoot and kill people. And I said, okay, let's take it down a notch.
Yeah.
I said, what was your rank? And he says, I was a Lance Corporal. I said, okay, were you in charge of people? He says, my team. Okay, so I said, you have several people that you're in charge of, the health, safety, and welfare. He says, yes. I said, okay. Did you have to make sure that they were supplied with ammo? Did you have to check that they were okay? Did you have to relay orders down and ensure that they were carried out? Did you have to provide security? I said, these are all interpersonal skills, leadership, working teamwork, being able to communicate. And so as I talked with him, I was able to pull this out and gave him a new way of how to present himself to an employer.
So does that immediately kind of resonate with them, or do they think, no, I really don't have those, leadership skills?
Well, I guess I did some personal counseling there. Because I said, don't sell yourself short. You have so much skill that the employers are looking for. You just need to pull it out of you, or have someone pull it out of you. And we talked for a while. And later on in the day when I saw him, he thanked me for helping him just re-look at himself. And that's what you really need, is someone, because when I'm with a veteran, I can go into military speak. But then we have to look at, okay, supervisor, manager, number of people. And some employers have a hard time looking at the scope of responsibility a 21-year-old will have. Multi-million dollars of equipment. One of the guys who just was in my recent workshop was transporting units back and forth from Afghanistan, and he could call a plane up ready to move a unit within 3 hours. I mean, how do you don't, that's hard for a civilian to pick up and understand that.
So some of the skills they have are, I mean, clearly like project management. Many of them know another language because they've been...
Oh, several.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I had several people in the workshop with this individual, and they were able to talk about the different languages. I had people from Syria and you know, the Middle East and you know, India. So they had all these different languages, and that's another skill, because as we're becoming more global, speaking the various languages will help them in companies.
So in this workshop, do you touch on resumes?
Yes.
Okay, and how important is it for a veteran? Let's say they've been out 10 years, and should they still include that? Should they make that kind of the focal point of their resume? Should that be in their summary statement?
It's going to depend on what they do, because the person I'm just talking about, he was reserve and called to active duty, so then that's pertinent. Sometimes it's more at the bottom of my resume now because it's been a long time out, but I call it relevant experience, and I try to pick up what accomplishments do I have that relate directly to the field or position that I'm applying for, whether it's training or maintenance or things like that. And one of the things I found when I was getting out was they did a functional resume for me, which really didn't help me because people didn't understand a laundry list of something out of the Dictionary of Occupational Terms, when I needed to be more specific with scope and accomplishments, results that I attained. And that's really what the veteran needs to focus on. What are the results?
And I know nowadays there's a lot of companies with initiatives to hire a vet. Do you all talk about that a little bit, or do you provide guidance on how they would go about finding these companies?
Yeah, so the Illinois Department of Employment Security local vet rep goes out to develop relationships with employers, because there are different tax incentives for employers. And we do have employers contacting us. We do have a business team internally that's working with employers. So employers do contact us looking for veterans. I know BP, we just recently had something with DuPage Veterans Assistance Commission, where I met one of the HR reps from BP, and he was talking about they have a little veterans group, TCF Bank. So more and more companies are looking at how can we hire veterans. And then also some of them occasionally are offering workshops on how do we get the veteran in. Comcast had a big hiring thing as well.
Is there a list of, you know, I know there's, I think I said earlier, there's about 40,000 veterans in DuPage County. Is there a newsletter that's going out to these vets so they know about all these resources?
Well, there's a couple of websites where they can look for assistance. One is IllinoisWorkNet.com, which is the website for the state of Illinois. So you spell out IllinoisWorkNet.com. And they list veteran services. You can go to our website, WorkNetDuPage.org, and we list our services. We have an online application. And then we just started a blog, which lists job leads as well. And then, because our business team is running that, they also work with the employers. I've also run across military.com, vet jobs. I think it's USAA is one of the...
USAA has jobs as well on their site?
Yeah.
Or USAjobs.gov.
USA.jobs. Yes. And I can't remember exactly what site it is, but there's a website that lists, and you could probably just Google it, veteran-friendly employers. And they list the top 50 employers for veterans.
Are you familiar with, there's, I don't know if this is fairly new, but it's the gold card? Are you, something that the vets?
I haven't.
Yeah, I know there's a new resource out there, and I'm not really familiar with that. What about, so going back to your workshop, so you do resumes, you do mock interviewing?
We're starting to.
Okay.
We went through a reorg, and now I've got some trainers back.
Okay.
Where we're going to do more job search workshops as well as counseling. Things with resumes, I talk about the applicant tracking systems, how to tailor your resume, the interview process, the storytelling, what's the problem, action, result. We're working more with trying to develop LinkedIn as well as mock interviewing, because that's one critical skill that people don't get. They talk in too many generalities, even veterans or civilians, the same thing.
Right.
So.
And then tell me a little bit before we wrap up here on your job club.
Yes. So the job club is twice a month, and what I try to do is have various human resources, recruiters come in, motivational speakers. This Friday, I'm doing my Halloween job club, Knowledge Nomads and the Nervously Employed, which is about the transition that's going on in the workplace now. Automation, globalization. What skills do you need to survive in this new economy? And a lot of it is the interpersonal leadership, creativity, problem solving that veterans have. And that's what's going to help them in the future, as well as cultural sensitivity, because they've been around the world. And as we're managing diverse populations, I was talking with one guy in the workshop, he was on 5 continents. So we're becoming more mobile as a society, and my job club's looking at that. I also have someone coming in November to talk about the health insurance, healthcare, the Affordable Care Act.
CARE Act, yeah, it's very big.
About that, because there's some huge changes coming down.
Yeah.
So I try to mix it up and just mainly get people out of the house, get them motivated, put them in contact with each other, and share resources about what's out there in the community.
And as we wrap up, I want to thank Jim Fergle and Steve Fixler for being a part of this month's edition of Career Center. And remember, if you are unemployed, underemployed, or seeking a career change, visit the Community Career Center on Wednesday or Saturday mornings at 9:00 a.m. to learn more about the resources available to you as you search for your next success. Thanks so much for watching.